Can you really make your own oboe reeds without thousands of dollars of tools and supplies? Yes! Stick around and I'll show you how I make my reeds on a budget. You really only need a few basic tools and supplies to get started with your reed making. So let's bring it in close and I'll show you some of my favorites. Here we have all of the tools that are absolutely necessary for making a reed. There are so many other fancy things that you could spend your money on, but if you just buy these few things, you'll have everything you need. First we have our knife. This one is a beveled knife. Its edge looks like this. Another popular style is the double hollow ground, but I prefer this one simply because it's easier to sharpen. And I'll go over that in another video, but I would recommend this type for a beginner just because it's easier to sharpen. This knife today in 2026 is selling for $36.50. And I bought it 25 years ago and it's still working great for me. I recognize I could probably make better reeds more easily with a better knife, but I'm on a budget and this one does just fine. The next thing you need is a sharpening stone for your knife. This is an India stone and today it's selling for $14.59. Next we have our plaque. That's this thin piece of metal that goes in between the blades of the reed when you're scraping. This one is blued steel. They also have silver ones or wood or plastic, but I prefer the blued steel because of its dark color so that when you put it into the reed you can see through the blades so you can tell where you need to scrape. These sell for $2.50. I would recommend buying 2 or 3 of them at least because they get lost really easily and eventually you'll scrape the bluing off and it'll be silver, but you can get away with just one. Next we have our cutting block. It's just this little piece of wood that you use when you're clipping the tip off of your reed. You can see it's slightly rounded on the top so that when you have your reed on it, you can rock your knife back and forth to cut through the tip. This one is a 29mm diameter cutting block, and right now it is selling for $11.50. So if you want to stop right there, you would have everything you need to adjust your reeds if you buy them, but we'll keep going with the things that you need to actually make yours from scratch. Next we have a mandrel. I use this for holding my reed when I'm tying it on and for doing measurements. It just goes into your reed like this. Some people even use it to scrape on, maybe if they have bigger hands to make it easier to hold onto the reed, but I think it's just awkward, so I take it out for the scraping. This one is selling for $24.95 today. Next we have our thread. And you can get this in lots of different colors. This is FF gauge thread, and the spool is 150 yards, and you can get this for $9. Next we have a little cake of beeswax. This is for waxing your thread before you tie it on to make it easier to seal. And this little cake costs 95 cents and it will last you forever. The next tool we have doesn't actually come from a reed making supply store. It comes from a sewing store or craft store. It's a seam gauge and I like it because it has this sliding gauge so you can mark different lengths. But at the very least you need a ruler with millimeters on it to measure your reeds when you're making them. One of these sewing gauges costs about $2, but you might just have one at your house already, or you might already have a different ruler with millimeters, and you can use that too. Next, you'll need a staple or a tube. That's this part right here. Most of them you see will be cork. I like these metal ones from Mark Chudnow, and I'll talk more about them in a minute. I'm just going to say zero cost for the staples because there's a good chance you already have some old reeds and you can just cut off the string and the cane and reuse the staple. And last but not least, we have the cane. This kind is already gouged, shaped, and folded, so it eliminates the need for a lot of those expensive tools that you could use for reed making, the gouger and the shaper tools. And I think these work just fine. This particular brand, Rigotti, sells for around $3.80 a piece. I would recommend ordering at least 5 of them. So we'll add 5 pieces to our total. And that's all you need to get started making your own reeds. So you can get started for just around $120. And considering a good reed will cost you anywhere from $20 to $30 or more, it's not a bad price. So while this is all you really need to get started with making your own reeds, there are just a couple of things I want to talk about that have made my reed making experience better. And first are the staples from Mark Chudnow. I really like the silver plated ones. They also have nickel ones that are pretty good. The silver is my favorite, but currently silver prices are really high and they are selling for $22 a piece when you can get the nickel ones for $8.50. I first found these staples at the IDRS conference in 2008, and ever since I tried them, I have been using them exclusively because they just make my reeds so much better. I highly recommend these. And the other thing I enjoy having is this tool from Reed Geek. It's called the Double Geek. I really like this one for fine-tuning my reeds. I don't like it as much for the rough scraping when you first start taking all the bark off, because it just takes a little bit at a time and it takes forever to scrape off all the bark. But that's exactly why I like it for the fine tuning, because it only takes off a little bit and it's less likely that I'm going to take too much off and ruin my reed. And it's made from this really cool stuff that doesn't have to be sharpened, so you don't need to worry about that. My favorite part is this edge right here. You can use it to go back and forth on your reed, kind of like an eraser, and just take out little bits. You can also use any of these other edges. It has these curved edges to go over the spine to keep that in place, and it's just a really neat tool. It comes in this neoprene bag that has a microfiber cleaning cloth in it. It's just something I really like. To make it easier to find what you need, I've organized all of my favorite tools and supplies into a nice list. You can find the link in the description.